YouTube? Welcome to another video. So, Metformin revisited. Why am I going to revisit this topic? It's something I've already spoken about. Well, from the last video, a lot of people misunderstood that it was a day in a life video. Even though in the title, it says day in a life. You can even see it, broad as day in the thumbnail, day in a life. Some people are rather stupid, and I understand. You were born without brain cells. So, this video, we're going to go into further detail and actually just talk about metformin. By the way, that was a little joke, but you come on my page, you want to act like an arsehole, I'm going to treat you like an arsehole. I'm going to give it back. Come on, I'm British. It's what we do. Metformin revisited. Why do I want to go back into this subject and talk about it in a little bit of depth and actually say why I use it just in a little bit more detail? So from the comment section, I saw a few comments on there which maybe I need to revisit this and actually talk about metformin in a little bit more detail on why I use it and why I'd ask my clients who use PEDs to utilize the drug. First of all, why would I use metformin? Let's actually look at what PEDs do to our bodies. Now, this little page is taken from the J3U, so if you want to go in more detail about metformin and the effects of PEDs, and down a little bit more information on this page, a little bit more information on this, the J3U is a great place for that. So that's the John Jewett University. So as you can see, John shows us here that taking PEDs, we have potential heart complications we could have, the renal, our brain, so our neurological, and also the liver. Now, when we look at what the benefits that we get from metformin, this is also taken from the J3U. You can see that the benefits that we get from our metformin is going to combat some of the side effects that we're going to get from our PED usage. Now, we want longevity in this sport, so it looks like metformin, from the data that we have, that it's going to prevent the collateral damage from some of the things that we do with our PED usage, because it's not usage, in terms of we don't use these drugs the same way that are, or the amounts, they're not really used in the way that they're used in the medical field. We take it into that next level, and it is kind of abusage. So we've got to remember that we need to make sure that we prevent the collateral damage that could happen, and metformin, really does show from the data that we have, and obviously we look at the effects that the drugs do, we can see that it really is going to combat some of those, especially around the brain, as well as with obviously renal and obviously the heart. So we can see there is some really good benefits from taking this drug, and that's why we're going to use it. A lot of questions were talking about insulin sensitivity. Now, it is going to help with insulin sensitivity for sure. That's what it does. We can see that from some of the benefits, but we're not really going to use it solely just for that. There are better things we can use in our toolbox when we start seeing blood sugars being a little bit skewed, that we can use, especially in an off season. We're really using metformin for the preventive measures, rather than just, I'm going to be more insulin sensitive so I can prolong my off season. It's not really how it's going to work. If you are already spilled in your off season and you're like a natural guy, you're just going to need to recomp. That's it. If you've got too fat, you've got too sloppy, you're just going to need to pull back, diet down so you can push back up again. It's not a sort of drug where you're going to use that's going to be able to prolong your off season if you've got too sloppy. You've gone too far, you've gone too far. So to summarize, why I would use metformin for myself and my clients is really for the preventive measures that it gives us, from obviously cognitive, renal, brain, cardiovascular. It's really going to use it as a preventive measure. So this does mean that we're going to run it in a prep and an off season. I'm going to run it all year round. I'm going to run it so that I'm preventing, because if I am on cycle for majority of the year, let's think about a 52-week year, and I'm taking PEDs and I'm doing 20-week blasts. I'm taking 6 to 8 weeks off. So majority of the year, I'm in a super physiological state. I'm going to need to do something about that. Also, if you are natural, I wouldn't worry about metformin. It's not going to be a game-changing drug that is going to make you utilize your food better to that extent. My personal opinion with metformin is really using it as a preventive measure for the collateral damage that we're possibly doing to ourselves, so that we can have longevity within this sport and actually a life after bodybuilding. Now, a common question or a common comment that came up was people talking about, what about metformin and its effects with AMPK and mTOR? Now, on the Physique Collective website, Joe Jeffrey has a really nice video that does actually metformin affect hypertrophy. Does it affect our growth response? or does it affect our ability to build muscle? Now, we've all seen the studies where we can see that metformin affects AMPK. However, in this video, Joe does talk about the mechanism of actually on metformin's response with AMPK and how it affects AMPK, what subunits of AMPK it hits, and does show that it's not going to affect muscle hypertrophy. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to rip off what he says. This is behind a paywall, and I would highly advise that if you want to know more on actually the mechanism, on what subunits it specifically hits and that how it doesn't affect it, go and obviously on Joe's page and listen to the video. He cites the studies, and if you are looking at the studies, remember to look past the abstract. Look at actually what they're talking about in these studies, and you're going to see that the subunits that it's hitting doesn't affect muscle hypertrophy. So we don't need to worry about it. Another question that came up with metformin is, when can you take it? Or does it only work with a certain drug? I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. We would take metformin all year round, especially as a bodybuilder like myself, who's looking to push their body and are only taking, majority of the year we are pushing our body. We're redlining our body. We're not taking huge amounts of time off. We are really pushing ourselves. If that be in a prep, if that be in an off season, we are still going to need it because we're still using PEDs and we're really looking at for the preventive measures of what PEDs can do long term. Also, questions asked about, can we only use it with GH, or does it only work with GH? Now, I can understand probably where you're thinking. High amounts of GH does skew blood sugar readings, and utilising metformin would be good. But yet again, there's probably something better that you could utilise that is going to help there, like a basal level insulin. But, I'm not going to go in too much detail down there. If you want to know more about certain things like that, yet again, I highly advise listening to these two, as they both have sites. Obviously, they're behind a paywall, but they're really going to extend your knowledge to that next level that you're going to understand this a lot better and what tools would be more appropriate for the certain situation. But to the person who left that comment, I do give you credit for asking because it's coming from the right place. I've tried to be brief in this video and explain it on why I would use it in a little bit more detail. It's been boring as fuck because I just stood here and talked for like 10 fucking minutes. However, I hope that this comes across clear. I hope that you have a little bit better understanding of why we would use it. Maybe some of you need not need to worry at all. If you're completely natural, maybe it's something you really don't need to worry about. There's probably, if you're looking at blood sugar management, there's probably easier things to do before you jump down the pharmacy route. And I'm not actually 100% clear, but it potentially could be banned in your federation. So potentially giving yourself a little advantage. I hope this video has been helpful. Let's see where the comments goes with this one. Some of you will probably be like, get to the point, mate. If that is you, go suck your mum. I don't care. All jokes aside, I hope I've helped. I hope this video has assisted in some way. And I feel like it's important for me to revisit this subject, as it's something that was in a video that was within another video, and some people didn't like that. Anyway, like, subscribe. Until the next one, get massive.